Hey everybody, it's Allie Edwards, and I am back with another video in my Project Life album for 2024. I am working on April. This is week 17. For this one, I am using a bunch of supplies from the April Stories by the Month kit. This is for 2024. And one of the things I was really challenging myself to do in this particular spread was use some of the larger tag pieces, a few of the different tag pieces, and kind of see what were some different things that I could do with those. I know that's one of the requests that I have seen from the community. One of my initial ideas there was to use the This Story half circles or the story half circles and pair those with one of the 4x6 vellum sheets. I cut those in half and then I used the shape of the half circle as the top, and I stitched that top die cut piece onto the bottom. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Another thing I was looking at as I was figuring out, what were some of the things I wanted to include this time, I decided to go with a couple smaller photos that could be paired with some of those tag shapes, or the different shapes that are included in the April Stories by the Month kit and in some of our other Stories by the Month kits as well. This is a die set that we've used previously for our tags. I taped those two together, a photo. Then I measured the tag and then I paired it with a photo, a square photo there. And then I'm going to back it on white cardstock so it has a little bit of a frame around it, just cutting around the outside. I am going to punch a hole there as well using a We Are Memory Keepers hole punch. And then I'm going to put a gold brad on the inside, and that's going to get adhered down to that vellum piece of paper. So this is one way that you can play around with the vellum, with any of the pattern vellum or pattern cards that you might have in your stash, and then some of these tag pieces within some of our die cut sets. So adding that right on top. This also, heads up, was the week that I did Week in the Life this year. So Week in the Life is a big deep dive into the story of the week. So I knew as I was approaching this particular week that it was not super important to me to have a ton of words in here and or a ton of photos either, because my my Week in the Life album is so comprehensive. So it kind of opened the door, I felt like, for me to have a little bit more fun with this one. I don't know. I feel excited about it anyway. I was happy to be back. I'm happy to be back into this project after a little bit of time away. What I'm doing right there is I'm going through my stash and I'm looking at my pattern cards, and I'm picking out a card that can go behind the transparency that I'm using for the specific week or to designate the week. I'm going to go back in there in a little bit and stamp the dates. One of the other things that's included in the April Stories by the Month kit are these word phrase strips. They are tags, meaning that they have holes punched in them, but I decided to actually leave the little holes filled in, and I'm going to simply put some adhesive on the back of those strips and then run them through the sewing machine on top of the photo. In this case, for a little bit of a repeat on what I did on one of those top cards there where I backed it with the white cardstock, I'm going to do something similar down here. This one, I'm not keeping the tag shape. I did cut that part off of it because it was a little bit too big for what I was wanting to do here, but I like the idea of mounting it on cardstock or backing it on cardstock and having a photo and one of those pieces. It can be embellishment if you wanted it to be too, one of those pieces, and then adhering it onto the vellum. I think I really like how that turned out. You could also do the same sort of thing with a little bit of journaling on those other spots there. That would be another opportunity to play around with that. Moving things around a little bit, kind of trying to decide where do I actually want those to go. And then once I've finished one of those up, I go ahead and slip it inside. You can see how right there I'm adhering one of the strips on there. I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine and run it through with the yellow thread. I really wanted to add that celebrating the magically mundane vellum on top, and I wanted to have it outside of the page protector. So I was thinking about a different way that I could do that other than washi tape. And so what I ended up doing is taking one of the tab stickers from the April Stories by the Month kit. And I'm essentially just folding it over with the vellum on the outside. And then I'm kind of creasing it there. I'm also going to use a long reach stapler to hold it in place. Here comes my long reach stapler. This has much bigger staples than the tiny attacher if you're used to using that, but it's so great because it can go farther in and reach other places that the tiny attacher can't reach. So I'm hopeful that this is going to work really well. I like how it looks. It's just a different way to play around with creating a flip up, being able to utilize some of those vellum pieces as well and have it be outside of the page protector. All right, so repeating the same thing with one of those with the phrase tags, running it through the sewing machine, and then simply placing it into the pocket. I'm going to do that again with this one. As you can see, when I am doing projects like this, or anytime really I'm working in project life, I like trying to create some repetition, right? Whether it's color or shape or the treatment or style. It's just something I'm thinking about as I'm doing it. Okay, here's another one of those tags. What I did for this one is I actually printed out a photo. I think I printed this at like 2x3, something about that size, in order to turn that tag into more of a 3x4 tag. And there's going to be a little bit of space along the bottom, a little bit of white along the bottom. And I'm going to cut up one of the other journal cards, one of the 4x6 journal cards from the Stories by the Month kit, to have it have a little bit of a label along the bottom. And you're going to see this in a minute. And I know for some people are like, oh my God, I don't want to cut up a 4x6 for one little phrase. I'm giving a heads up. There you go. There's the card. But, if it works for what you want to do, go for it, right? That's kind of this is how I think about it to myself, because this is me not treating the products so preciously. This is just me using the products to get my stories told, right? Using them as supports for getting my stories told. So I'm just kind of trimming that guy down, and then I will write a little bit of what I thought was cool related to that. I also will tell you that I loved, when I was looking back through my photos, again, this is from my Week in the Life week, that I had a picture of those bright pink rhododendrons. It created a nice little visual triangle with the pink half circle tops I have going on in this spread. So that was something that was kind of fun to think about. I'm using a Micron pen this time, and it says, I think the journaling that I put on there said bring on the blooms, because that's what was happening in April, and now we're just in, full flower mode for the rest of the season. All right, kind of playing around with placement on that guy. One of the things that I knew that I would be doing there is that when I do week 18, I will be having repeated shapes for some of those so that I still have the same peek through. This is a gold foil label sticker sheet. I think this is probably from December Daily. I store all my label stickers together. This gives me an opportunity to add the date onto the pattern card, and then I can slip that back in the pocket. I went ahead and printed one more 3x4 photo from my photo archives just to slip into that bottom pocket. And then as I was thinking about how I wanted to do journaling with these vellum and half circle combos, I decided the thing that made the most sense to me was going ahead and printing my journaling on a transparency. So I measured that, brought it over to my computer, created a little journaling block for myself, printed it out on not laser transparency. I just printed it out on transparency, and then I'm going to add it right on top. If I was smart, and since you guys are smarter because you're watching this maybe before you do this, you could wait to have your transparency and then you could stitch on top. Another thing you could do is you can run that vellum through your printer and add your story directly onto the vellum. I was thinking more of just the shapes and those sort of things first. So it's always about solving the issues that you come across and getting the things into the projects that you want to get in. So I love how it turned out. I think it's a really cute combination of the vellum and the transparency with the text, and then the half circle title. So loved putting this one together. Loved the challenge of playing around with some of those larger tags in this project, and I'll see you guys back here again soon.